Here is every bet I place for UFC Perth. First off, these are the fights that I will not be having a bet on for various reasons. Loma Lugumi, Alexia Tainara. I simply do not want to bet this because the line is a little too wide and it's women's MMA. Anything can happen, and usually you would want to bet the underdog, but I have Alexia the favorite picked, so not betting that. We got Jamie Malarkey, Rolando Bedoya. I don't think either of these guys are UFC level, so no interest in betting this either. Louis Sutherland and Justin Tafa. Louis Sutherland making his UFC debut. I wouldn't want to pick or bet him because of that, but he's fighting Justin Tafa, who I have sworn off to ever pick or bet either. So it's literally a matchup where I cannot pick or bet either fighter. And then we got Jake Matthews and Neil Magny. Jake Matthews minus 410. The only way that I could possibly bet this is Jake Matthews in a parlay. Don't feel like doing that. Or take a long shot, do Jake Matthews by submission. Don't want to do that either. So, not going to be betting it. And then we also got Jack Jenkins and Ramon Tavares. I think Jack Jenkins wins by decision. I do think he could get a leg kick TKO. I do think Ramon Tavares could mix in the grappling maybe and get a submission. Maybe it's a really weird fight. I don't think either guy is really high level, and they have it on the main card. So, no interest in betting that one either. I do have an interest in betting Brando Pericic taking on Elisha Ellison. Now, in this one, it kind of goes against everything I just said. We have two debuting fighters, so right off the bat, they're extremely low level. You might not want to bet on that because of that reason. They're also big heavyweights. Big heavyweights, they often have slop fest, and usually you don't want to be betting on a slop fest either. Brando Pericic, there is a good chance that he goes out there and starches Elisha with the first punch he throws. Elisha, it doesn't have the best durability, but I'm kind of relying on Elisha to, go to the Chase Hooper game plan. This guy trains with Chase Hooper. He's in his gym. He has a few submission wins on his resume. Brando Pericic's only loss is by submission, I believe. So 0.2 units on Elisha Ellison by sub. If he gets one takedown, this prop becomes insanely live. All right, if it even sniffs the mat, this could hit. It's only 0.2 units. Not the craziest bet, but I think it's worth a long shot. We're also going to be betting Luana Carolina and Michelle Montag. Michelle Montag making her UFC debut. She is 6-0 with 6 submission wins. But if she doesn't get takedowns, her striking is very poor. And Luana Carolina is on a 3-fight win streak as an underdog in all 3 of those fights. So we're going with Luana Carolina as the pick by decision, and the bet is a half a unit on Luana Carolina's money line. It's not my most confident underdog pick. I see a lot of people on Twitter and Instagram promoting Luana Carolina as a pick through RainBet, through Stake. And if you guys know by now, if you ever see a RainBet or Stake bet slip, more often than not, RainBet and Stake actually paid that person to place that bet, so it's not even a real bet. So I'm seeing a lot of Luana Carolina bets in that fashion. I was going to put more on her, but since I saw that, I'm only putting a half unit. It's kind of an experimental play. We're also betting Colby Thicknesse and Josias Musasa. I'm taking Colby Thicknesse, the underdog, to win by submission, and I feel like if he doesn't win by sub, he actually might get KO'd himself, or he might lose a decision. All right, he doesn't really throw a lot of power, so if he's not grappling, I'm a little concerned. So for that reason, I went ahead and I've thrown 0.2 units on a Colby Thicknesse sub plus 600. I believe this would win you, if you put 5 on it, I think you would win about 35. And if you put 5 on the Snack Panther sub, you would win about 70. So Colby Thicknesse sub, I think it's sneaky. I think if he goes for the grappling, like he trains with Volk, he trains with Craig Jones. He's got that Aussie grappling. So he should be able to find the sub. If he activates grappling, I think he will do so. We're also betting Andre Petroski and Cam Rowston. Cam Rowston making his UFC debut. He fought on the Contender Series a few weeks ago. Andre Petroski, he has a lot of UFC experience, but if there's one thing I know about him, it's that it's extremely hard to trust him, number one, in front of a crowd. It's extremely hard to trust him to shoot for takedowns when that's his main path to victory. And number 3, it's extremely hard to trust his durability. So I'm getting a guy at plus money who just got a knockout win a month ago against a UFC level-ish opponent, and he's got some sneaky submission skills if Andre Petroski goes all in on takedowns. I'm going with Cam Rowston to win by decision. I think his finish equity is very high. I think he could find a knockout. I think Petroski is pretty chinny. I think he could find a submission. I think if Petroski shoots lazy takedowns, he can get like a Darce or something. And I think he could win by decision. So all 3 paths to victory available for Cam Rowston, and 2.2 units on him. One of my most confident dog picks thus far. 2.2 units on plus 138 Cam Rowston. We're also betting Tom Nolan and Charlie Campbell. I just simply think that whenever Tom Nolan gets put up against someone that has any type of KO power, he will get knocked out. Or at the very least, he will lose a decision. I know he only has 1 loss, and he did get knocked out in that loss. But in his recent fights against Slava, he had a very poor performance. Against Victor Reyes, he had a very poor performance. I'm going with Charlie Campbell to win by KO, but I'm taking his money line. 1.6 units plus 128. I do think he has some decision upside, and I think if he lands clean on Tom Nolan, he's going to knock him out. Now, when these guys square off in the octagon, Tom Nolan will be the supremely bigger guy, so you might be concerned about your Charlie Campbell pick. But once they actually start throwing, you'll understand, like, oh, Charlie Campbell is probably going to win this fight. He keeps landing big on Tom Nolan, and Tom Nolan is not giving the best reaction. So we're going with another underdog, Charlie Campbell, KO. We're going with his money line plus 128. We're also going to be betting these 2 fights. There's a reason I grouped them together. We got Navajo Stirling and Rodolfo Bellato. I think Navajo Stirling wins by KO. I don't think Rodolfo Bellato is that good. I do think there is an outside chance that Bellato can activate takedowns and win by sub or decision because he grapples. But if Navajo lands clean on the feet, he should be able to knock out Rodolfo. And then Jimmy Crute and Ivan Arslan. I think Jimmy Crute, if he activates takedowns, he should be able to find the sub on Ivan Arslan. Ivan Arslan, all he's got is very basic MMA striking. He doesn't really shoot for takedowns. He doesn't really have good takedown defense. So Jimmy Crute, the guy that just won by sub against Marcin Prachniow. Ivan Arslan, similar type of fighter to Marcin Prachniow, mainly a striker. I think Jimmy Crute should be able to get it to the mat. So with all that being said, Navajo by KO, Jimmy Crute by sub, I'm doing a parlay. We're doing Navajo money line. We're doing Jimmy Crute money line. You jam them together. You will get plus money on most sports books that offer their betting lines. On FanDuel, you can get plus money. If you want to go a step further and take Navajo KO, Jimmy Crute sub, you can parlay that. You'll get about plus 1,200. But I'm going with the safer, quote-unquote, safer 1.92 unit play on Sterling and Crute to get the jobs done. And the main event, we also have a bet on this. My pick is Dominic Reyes to win by decision. I think these guys are both counter strikers. And when 2 counter strikers get put up against each other, more often than not, it becomes a staring contest. It becomes a clinch fest. And I think a very good play in this, because a lot of people think Ulberg will just starch Reyes early. I don't think that. I think the over 2.5 rounds is a spectacular play. If you go back to the last light heavyweight main event we had, it was Khalil Roundtree taking on Jamal Hill. And I believe the over-under in that fight was also 2.5. And that hit the over by a landslide. I think we see the same thing happen here. If Ulberg doesn't find the KO, this hits the over. I think he has enough durability to survive Reyes' shots. I think Reyes might even mix in a takedown and win around that way. Over 2.5, that's a great bet. I mean, I understand Dominic Reyes, he could get starched, yeah. But if he doesn't, his money line is also live too. I didn't bet that. I don't want to mush him. Over 2.5, love that bet. And the Finz Hammerlock, this is my weekly most confident underdog pick. We are 24-51 or 52, something horrible. We are horrible. This is not something you should be tailing, all right? Last week, I had a 10-unit play on Jesus Aguilar, and I didn't make him the Finz Hammerlock. That's because I know this. I know this game. I got to pick an underdog that I think will win, but it's also tricky enough where they probably will lose. Luana Carolina, plus 198. I'm taking her to beat Michelle Montag. This is just an extreme experiment, okay? She is the underdog I have the least amount of units on, but she is the underdog that I see rain bet slips for, stake slips for. So if Luana wins, she will have defeated the Rain Bet Mush, the Finz Hammerlock Mush, the Twitter Bet Slip Mush. I mean, there's a lot of mushes going against Luana this week. So, if you're a betting person, you know, maybe Michelle Montauk by sub. No, not a bad look, plus 200. But if you want to tail the Finz Hammerlock and see it return to its former glory, we have to start somewhere. I'm trying to start with Luana. And of course, we have an insane long shot. This week, we actually have enough legs for a cycle. Lately, I've been doing money lines and weird props, but we're going with the Maddie Betts-esque cycle, starting with Colby Thicknesse by sub. I think that's a pretty good line. Plus 600. If he activates grappling, he will find the sub. Charlie Campbell by knockout. I think if it stays standing for a long period of time, he knocks out Tom Nolan. And then Dominic Reyes by decision. This is my longiest long shot prop in this parlay. But if the over 2.5 rounds hits, that means that Reyes has survived about 15 minutes with Carlos Ulberg not getting starched clean. And if he were to do that, I think his decision equity should be way higher than plus 700. I think it should be like plus 300, plus 400, plus 700. That's kind of nuts. So I hope Dominic Reyes wins this week. He's one of my favorite fighters in the UFC, and it will be amazing to see him go back to his former glory and get a title shot against either Pereira or Ankalaev. Handsome Squidward, I hope he doesn't win, but it wouldn't be the worst. You know, we have new contender in the top 3, top 5. I'm going with Mr. Dom, so let's make some money this week.